Hi, my name's John, and today I'm going to be giving a book review on one of my favourite Sir Walter Scott novels, which is The Heart of Midlothian. The story that I'm reviewing today is called The Heart of Midlothian. It's set in Scotland and England, and it goes around the story of two sisters. And one sister is put in front of a court and sentenced to death because her baby disappeared at birth and she didn't tell anyone. They had some quite archaic laws back in 1736. So the story goes around how her sister possibly saves her. I won't give the plot away. The book that I'll be reviewing is one from my collection, which was published in 1905, and it has some wonderful illustrations. Here are a couple of them. Now, it's one of the reasons I like this book is that there's the characters in it. There's Jenny Deans, who's unusual as a heroine because she's not rich, she's not upper class, she's basically a dairymaid. And her father, David Deans, is this austere Presbyterian religious man who is quite domineering. What happens is there is a riot. They're called the Porteous Riots in 1736. The Heart of Midlothian is actually the old prison in Edinburgh. It was called the old toll booth, and they called it the Heart of Midlothian. So it's an unusual name, but that's what happened. And so what happens is her sister is sentenced to death, and she's put into prison, and there's no way out for her in terms of escaping the death sentence. She can't get it commuted unless she gets a pardon from the king. So the story revolves around Jenny going to London, a dairymaid, to get the pardon for her sister. A couple of my favourite characters in the story are Madge Wildfire and her mother. Madge Wildfire is basically a woman that's gone mad, and her mother is what they would call back in those days a witch. And there is a connection between these two and the sister, which you can read in the book. And it's interesting in terms of these two characters is that Madge Wildfire was actually based on a actual historical figure in Scotland around that time. And that can be read in the book as well, in terms of if you have an introduction and go into those details and footnotes. Some of the characters also in the story are George Staunton. Apologise if I got the pronunciation wrong. He's the villain of the piece. And there's also the Duke of Argyll, who acts as a bit of a go-between. And there is also a few comical characters in there as well, like a know-all about the legal system who knows absolutely nothing about the legal system. So that's quite amusing. And the story also is about good versus evil, and also there's a whole element of morality about the laws around that time and illegitimate babies. So the whole tension between Scotland and England in the 1730s. You've got to remember this was before Culloden and the other battles that were going to come up in the future. So I'd highly recommend this book for people that haven't read a lot of Sir Walter Scott. You've probably read, if you have read any Sir Walter Scott, Ivanhoe or the Bride of Lammermoor, and there's more famous bits, or Rob Roy or Waverley. But I think The Heart of Midlothian is one of his best works in terms of the fact that it was based on an actual legal case and the story. The book is one of the first that created the whole genre of historical fiction. And so Walter Scott was basically the forerunner for stories that we have today, like Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, or Bringing Up the Bodies, and other, monumental pieces that, or other pieces that we've heard about. So I'd highly recommend it to anyone to read and to enjoy a bit of Sir Walter Scott, especially with the autumn coming up shortly.